The free ride is over and Uncle Sam is ready to pull away our safety net. What's up, preppers? Welcome back to another video. This one I've been waiting to do for a while, but I've been reading through the 2025 National Security Strategy that was released. It's from November this year from the United States, and it's quite a large document. I will link it below. You feel free to go through it to yourself, but I've been looking through and seeing how this directly could affect us here in the UK as well as wider Europe, especially with the rhetoric that we've seen with things like the Sky war game scenario where Article 5 was invoked and pretty much ignored. And interestingly enough, recently we've seen meetings between Putin and Trump in Alaska, which didn't seem to give us anything. So what was agreed there? Was something agreed that we don't know about? Are they just dividing it from East and West Hemisphere, and you're going to have one and we're going to have the other? Who knows? Potentially invading Venezuela could be the start of the American expansion. All of these, of course, are just conspiracies and theories and stuff like that. But what's in the actual document, and should we need to prepare for it? I've got my notes here, so I am going to go through them based on what I've wrote down. So, first off, defense and NATO, because that's the key aspect of this. So one of the things is they want us to, they're formalizing the Hague commitment, and they want us to reach 5% GDP for defense spending. This isn't going to happen overnight. We know this. It's going to trickle up, and I think we should be spending that already. But they've basically put it in black and white now, saying basically, you don't spend this, why should we come to your rescue if you're not doing the best possible thing, if you're not giving yourself a fighting chance? Declaring that the days of propping up the entire world order like Atlas are over. Now, talking obviously about Atlas with the world on his back, saying that basically that's what the USA has been doing for a long time. And although there's been no conflict since World War II, major world conflict in that kind of sense, they have still been doing that because they are the ones that have kept up with the military might when it came to the Cold War, when it came to keeping their military and technology at the cutting edge. Whereas the rest of Europe, the rest of NATO kind of took that for granted. We're defended, so actually we can move this money over here. We could spend a bit more on this. We could spend a bit more on that. We'll just lower that. To the point we are going to leave ourselves completely defenseless, relying on Uncle Sam to come and save us. And guess what? He's not going to do it anymore. According to this document, the US will organize a burden sharing network, offering favorable commercial treatment and technology sharing only with those who are willing to take more responsibility for their security. Hit the targets and we'll work with you. Simple as that. The US aims to end the perception and reality of NATO as a perpetual expanding alliance. Basically, sorry, no more applicants. And that really does feel like that's come from someone else. When it comes to the war, Ukraine and relations with Russia, they emphasize in there a push for peace. Core interest in the US is now the expeditious cessation of all of hostilities in Ukraine. So basically, they want a complete ceasefire. They want to re-engage Russia and re-establish strategic stability with Russia and mitigate the risk of conflict between Russia and European states. Mitigate the risk, not stop, not cease, not that's it, put a wall down, mitigate it. Part of this, when it comes to Ukraine, the document criticizes European officials for having unrealistic expectations for the war and relying on US while their own relations with Russia are in the toilet. One of the big things it touches on, which we know is a strong talking point for Trump himself, is migration, ideology, and civilizational erasure. The strategy warns Europe faces the stark prospect of civilizational erasure due to migration and low birth rates. It states that if current trends continue, the continent will be unrecognizable in 20 years. or less. So we're talking here about losing our culture, what we've talked about in the UK quite a lot recently. And I'm all for multiculturalism, but we are, and when I say we, I mean British culture in general, is becoming the minority. And what he's saying is over the next 20 years, if that transition carries on, especially at the rate it's at now, they'll be unrecognizable. And due to this, inside this document, they are questioning alliances. Because of the demographic shifts, the US openly questions whether the future majority non-European NATO members will remain reliable allies or view the world in the same way. Obviously talking about different ideologies. And without going into religious aspects, I think we all know what he's talking about there. It does actually, in this document, support patriotic parties. The US will explicitly encourage patriotic European parties and those resisting the continent's current trajectory, while criticising elite-driven anti-democratic restrictions on core liberties, such as speech laws in Europe. Direct attack. Direct attack. Are you listening, Starmer? Stop messing with our free speech. You're just throwing us right into the boiling pot here. The problem we have, obviously, in this country is if you say the word patriot or patriotic, guess what? You're suddenly a far-right, crazy, fascist, blah, blah, blah. Which is a lot of rubbish. It should be the UK first. That's what we should be concentrating on. That's what we need to fix. And that's what they're encouraging. Yet we still can't follow that. And of course, the end of mass migration is mentioned as well. The US advocates that the era of mass migration must end and asserts that sovereign nations must have full control over who they admit. And an honest assessment of that. Not claiming, yeah, we've got control of this, when everybody who can even half open their eyes can see it's completely out of control in this country. It's completely out of control in many European countries. The next bit is economic and energy policy. This was really, I love this. This is instant, right? Rejection of net zero. The strategy rejects net zero ideologies, claiming they have greatly harmed Europe and subsidized adversaries. We know. We know. Yet we continue to pursue it. The US will prioritize reducing trade deficits, and European nations are expected to open their markets to US goods and ensure fair treatment. The document highlights the need for Europe to abandon regulatory suffocation and regain economic dynamism, noting that the continent's share of global GDP has plummeted. And of course, they're talking about our energy dependence on other countries. Now, it does say that they have a sentimental attachment. It says the document explicitly states that the US is sentimentally attached to Britain and Ireland, which is great. But if we carry on going on the path we're going, I'm not sure how much water that's going to hold. The US views the character of these nations strategically important, counting on them as creative, capable, confident, democratic allies, and they need to establish stability, which we definitely know. The Anglosphere. The UK is likely included in the mention of the Anglosphere, where the US will oppose anti-democratic restrictions on core liberties. Again, round to our free speech. And every time we've seen a meeting between Trump and Starmer, Starmer's gone, we've got a proud history of freedom of speech in this country, and we're proud of that. Does never says that we have free speech. We have a proud history of it, or we have a reputation of it. It's a lot of crap. If you're watching this, we don't have free speech in the UK. We have the freedom of expression, which has a lot of conditions attached to that. completely different to real, honest, free speech. So, in summary, just the stuff that affects us and Europe. They want us to raise the defense spending to 5% of GDP immediately. Great words, immediately. It's not going to happen, is it? Align with US efforts to negotiate a peace deal with Ukraine. You know, get behind us. Stop trying to do your own little deals, Macron, Starmer. Abandon net zero energy policies. Too many do-gooders. Too many backbenchers in Labour to appease. Too many Green Party people to appease. It's not going to happen. And align export controls with US regarding China. Well, I mean, that's doable. Everything else, not under this government. Not under this government. I'm sure if you read the document yourself, you'll find many more points, but this was just a few of the things that I found that I thought was worth mentioning. Like I say, I'll link the document below. Feel free to have a look at it. Now, let's remember, this is a national security strategy, all right? This isn't something that's a policy. This is not something that's set in stone. This is what they're aiming to achieve, and this is the direction they're going. It's a really good benchmark for how that government is feeling and what they're going to implement. And it's probably a good idea to kind of start thinking about how we align with that. What I think, especially under this current government, is we won't align with 90% of that. We're definitely not going to be spending 5% immediately, and no time soon, not even in this tenure of this parliament. And free speech, liberties, all of that, it's out the window. Elon Musk knows it. Lots of influencers know it. So without going into their actual security strategy themselves, the stuff that affects us is what I found relevant at the moment. Let me know what you think. I just don't think we're going to line up with it, with this government at all. It's not going to happen. And that could mean within the next year, 2 years, 3 years, that safety net of NATO is pulled out from under us, which is a giant green flag to that big red army over the other side. I will not be surprised if within 2 years we see the war expand beyond Ukraine and start hitting European countries. I hope not. Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another one. Goodbye.